has been the talk of town for the last 1 week. Tonight, President William Ruto has broken his silence, defending the cost of hiring the Boeing business jet to travel to the United States of America for the recently concluded state visit. The president, who jetted back into the country using the same jet, said the cost was lower compared to using the Kenya Airways means. The president's reaction, which comes days after KTN News shone the light on the expensive jet that cost the taxpayer in excess of 200 million shillings, has received a lot of backlash, with the opposition calling him out for trashing the austerity measures he has been preaching. But is the Kenya Airways option too expensive, as the president says? KTN's political affairs reporter Emmanuel Tor now interrogates.
In response to a story aired by KTN News a few days ago concerning the expensive Hustlers Jet Season 2 that has had tongues wagging, President William Ruto Sunday came out to defend the cost of his travel and the choice to use the Boeing business jet for the 4 days he was in the United States of America for a state visit. The head of state jetted back into the country Saturday evening aboard the same jet from the Abu Dhabi-based Royal Jet Company. Ruto posted on his X platform saying the cost of hiring the jet was lower than traveling on the national carrier KQ. The head of state went ahead to reiterate that he was a responsible steward of public resources and was living within the means he had told Kenyans to live within.
I think the expenditure on my trip are completely exaggerated. They are actually bordering on the ridiculous. I am very careful about the resources that I spend. In fact, I have cut down on funding to my office. I have cut down on funding to different government agencies. In fact, I have reduced by 30%.
A quotation requested and sent to KTN News by the Royal Jet Company puts the cost of hiring the state-of-the-art aircraft at a total cost of $748,600. That translates to about 98 million shillings one way for a 34-seater plane. Therefore, a round trip could potentially surpass the 200 million shilling mark, since Ruto also traveled from Atlanta to Washington, D.C., a trip spanning 2 hours. This amount is excluding the takeoff tax, landing tax, and parking. Reports indicate the president stayed with the jet in the U.S. for the whole week, which could push the total cost of the jet to well above 300 million shillings. The jet, owned and operated by a group of companies that leads the global premium private aviation sector, is chaired by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Hamad bin Tahnoon Al Nahyan of Abu Dhabi, UAE.
Family. Recently, President Ruto just concluded his US tour. He went to the US just to strengthen the bilateral ties between Kenya and the US of A. And some of the places that President Ruto visited was Atlanta, where he went to the headquarters of Coca-Cola companies. He also visited the Tyler Perry's studios, the headquarters of Tyler Perry Studios. And later he jetted to the Washington, D.C., where he met the president, Joe Biden, and later even met the former president of the USA, Barack Obama. And this trip had a lot of backlash from Africans and Kenyans, to be specific, because of the numbers that facilitated this trip. When I talk about the numbers, I'll talk about the money. President William Ruto used an upwards of 200 million Kenya shillings for him to book the jet for the whole trip. And this is not inclusive of the taxes, the landing tax, the parking tax, and all this stuff. And President Ruto came and defended himself and said it was cheaper to use that plane rather than use the national carrier, which is the Kenyan Airways. And people have been asking themselves questions. What does the president mean when he mentioned that 200 million was cheaper than using the national carrier? And he also mentioned that he did not use the official jet for the president of Kenya because of security reasons. That we understand. The former president of Kenya, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, was seen many times visiting the US using the national carrier. You know, he used to use the business class of our national carrier sometimes, and he moves all the way to the US just for the cost effective measures. But now President Ruto said this was cheaper than him using the national carrier. And Kenyans have been so worried about this same issue because the cost of living in Kenya and the taxes right now are insane. And the taxpayers have been asking themselves questions. What does our president mean if he says this was a cheaper means? And as you can see, KTN News went on to do some research and found out that the Boeing jet that the president used was actually more expensive. And according to their calculations and their research, after contacting the carriers, they estimated that amount to be an upwards of actually 300. But yesterday, there was a national prayer day here in Kenya at the Serena Hotel, and the president came and spoke and defended his US tour and mentioned that he used less than 20 million Kenya shillings. And people are wondering, how are these numbers not adding up? Who is lying? Does the president intend to lie to Kenyans, or is it us, the people, that have not understood the numbers that were used, the figures that facilitated this trip? And yesterday he mentioned that the carrier that he used, the private jet, was from a friend. And Kenyans are asking themselves, which friend is this that our president has? And the president said that the friend gave him the jet for the 4 or 5 days he was in the US for less than 20 million Kenya shillings. And that doesn't make sense, man. That doesn't make sense. It just feels like a lie, you know? It just feels like a lie. And with the president was a whole group of people. The jet itself had a capacity of 30 something seats, less than 40. And people are asking themselves, there are also some people who used other means to reach the USA. Some of them used the national carrier. Some of them were not on the specific jet. And we were trying to add up all these and get to understand the number of money that was used for this state visit. And things are not adding up. At some point, the president said that what he went to take there is actually more okay. It has a lot of worth compared to the money he's using to facilitate the travel. And as a Kenyan, as an African, I just feel like this should be a lesson to all leaders, all state leaders, to ensure that they use the cheapest way possible, to ensure that they use a way that will not cost the taxpayers a lot of money. Because many a times these visits to the US, sometimes they do not benefit us, the common men and women, directly. So they'd rather use cheaper means for them to facilitate this travel. So guys, let me know what you think on the comment section down below. Let me know if this was the right move by the President of the Republic of Kenya, or he could have used a better way to just enable this travel from Kenya to the USA. And we asking ourselves a lot of questions as the people of Africa, because we want to move transformatively to ensure that our countries and our economies are better. We want for the unity of Africa. When African leaders unite, then it can be easy for us to survive amongst each other, rather than each and every time jetting to those countries to seek for help. Because there were a lot of money that the president was given in the US tour. Some of them were to fight corruption. Some of them were to ensure that there is good governmentship in the country, and you wonder, do we need funds for these things? You know, recently we had floods, we got support from the Western countries. At times, it's not a must for us to spend more to go to these meetings with world leaders. At times, it's better to think of a way that we can be able to sustain ourselves and help ourselves. And our president brought about the issue with tax, and he's been pushing it a lot. So hopefully, this helps us, the citizens, and let our money be used well rather than being used in places that in a way does not bring economic sense to our country. So guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Kindly do consider subscribing to my channel for amazing black stories, amazing African stories, and amazing stories of black people in the diaspora. Thank you guys so much. Kindly like this video so that it can be recommended to other people, and I'll be so grateful, guys. So thank you so much. Let me know in the comment box what you think. See you all in my next video. Goodbye for now.